Ladies and gentlemen, success is not an accident. It does not stumble into your life uninvited, nor does it grace those who wait passively for inspiration. Success is summoned, willed into existence, by those who understand the extraordinary power of a single morning. Yes, you can begin winning every morning, and when you do, you will begin winning in life. Each morning is a fresh battlefield. When you rise with purpose, when you rise with discipline, you declare to the universe, I am in charge of what happens next. The first decision you make, the first thought you entertain, the first step you take, these are not small things. They are the foundation of your day, and your day is your life in miniature. If you begin your day in confusion, you will end it in frustration. But if you begin with clarity, if your feet hit the floor with resolve, you have already defeated the greatest enemy, indecision. Every successful man and woman you admire has understood this principle, whether they knew it by name or not. They rose with intention, they rose to command. The mind is most impressionable in the morning. It is in this sacred hour that you must feed it with ideas that elevate you. Do not reach for distraction. Reach for thought, reach for purpose. Take 5 minutes to direct your imagination toward your goals. Read something that challenges you. Write something that sharpens your focus. Stand tall and speak a command into your day. You must act in the morning like the person you intend to become, not some day-to-day. The morning is not a rehearsal. It is the stage upon which you prove your readiness. You are either preparing yourself for success or you are drifting into mediocrity. There is no middle ground, and if you believe you are not a morning person, I say this, you were not born with excuses. You were born with power. That story you tell yourself, that you are not meant for the early hours, is a lie whispered by the forces that fear your potential. Replace that lie with a new truth. I rise because I must, and I win because I will. The man who owns his morning owns his destiny. The woman who builds a temple of routine, discipline, and vision before the world awakens, she becomes unstoppable. So I ask you, what will you do tomorrow morning? Will you choose to conquer, or will you choose to comply? The choice is yours. And so is the victory. Your morning habits determine your day's outcome. This is not just a motivational idea. It is a principle of life governed by the law of cause and effect. Every cause you set in motion upon waking sends a ripple throughout your day, influencing your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, and ultimately your results. If you truly desire success, you must begin to understand that it is not found in one grand moment of luck or opportunity, but in the small, consistent actions you choose when the day is still quiet and the world has yet to demand anything of you. When the sun rises, the mind is fresh, unshaped, and fertile. In those first precious moments after waking, you hold in your hands a blank page. What you choose to write on it will determine the story that unfolds over the next 12 to 16 hours. If you begin in haste, reacting to the world, checking your phone, rushing to get dressed, and moving in panic, then you have already handed over control. But if you begin with purpose, with a calm and directed mind, you become the author of your day, and no outside force can rob you of that power unless you surrender it. All successful individuals, whether they were born into privilege or rose from poverty, have one thing in common. They do not waste the morning. They do not drift. They do not wander through those first few hours aimlessly. They set the tone, just as a conductor signals the first note of a grand symphony. A productive morning leads to a focused day. A focused day leads to consistent progress. And consistent progress is the slow, deliberate path to mastery. Think about how many battles are lost before breakfast, not against other people, but within yourself. The battle to get up on time, the battle to resist distractions, the battle to face your fears and pursue your goals. These are not small challenges. They are the very training ground of character. When you fail to win the morning, you are more likely to give in to fear, fatigue, procrastination, and doubt. But when you master it, when you wake up with a command in your soul, you carry that strength with you into every interaction, every decision, and every opportunity. The key lies not in waking up early just for the sake of it. It lies in what you do when you rise. If you wake early but scroll mindlessly or worry endlessly, you've done little more than shift the time of your confusion. But if you begin your day with intention, whether through reading, writing, meditating, exercising, or simply thinking deeply about your goals, then you are building mental muscle that will serve you in every arena of life. You are teaching yourself to lead rather than follow, to think rather than react, and to act rather than wait. Winning the morning is not just about discipline, it is about vision. When you remind yourself each morning of where you are going, you awaken a deeper part of your consciousness that begins to work on your behalf. It alerts you to opportunities, strengthens your decision making, and makes your work feel meaningful. Without this clarity, even the hardest worker can fall into burnout and exhaustion, but with it, every step forward, no matter how difficult, becomes purposeful. There is no magic in the morning, only power, and that power belongs to the person who respects it. You must treat the morning as sacred, as the most important meeting you will have all day. It is your meeting with yourself. It is the time when you make agreements with your future. If you neglect that meeting, you are sending a signal to your subconscious mind that your goals are not a priority. And your mind, being obedient, will treat them as such. How you speak to yourself in the morning matters. How you move your body, what you choose to consume mentally and physically, the decisions you make in that first hour. These things are not isolated events. They are signals, they are instructions to your brain and body that say, we are rising, or we are shrinking. Do not underestimate them. Do not dismiss the power of your routine, because habits, though they may appear small, are the very architecture of destiny. A morning that begins with gratitude fuels a day of abundance. A morning that begins with panic invites chaos. A morning that begins with courage brings strength into every task ahead. You get to choose. And in that choice lies your greatness. You cannot expect the world to reward you if you cannot first govern yourself. And the first test of self-governance comes the moment your eyes open. Will you move with purpose, or will you fall back into comfort? Will you chase your vision, or will you scroll through someone else's? Will you train your mind, or will you let it wander aimlessly? Each morning you are given a gift. The question is, will you use it to rise, or will you waste it and hope the day somehow saves you later? No, the day does not save you. You save it, and you do so by owning your morning, mastering your habits, and planting seeds that only you can sow. What you plant each morning, you will harvest every evening. And if you plant victory, you will not be surprised when it arrives. There is no power more commanding than a mind that knows where it is going. Definiteness of purpose is the root of all great achievements, the flame that lights the path before you when others are wandering in darkness. And this flame must be kindled each morning. The moment the sun rises, you are given an opportunity, not just to wake up, but to direct yourself. Without that direction, your energy scatters, your thoughts drift. Your actions become reactions, and you surrender the day to circumstances rather than seizing it with intention. You were not designed to drift. You were not created to wander through life hoping to stumble into success. The greatest minds of history, the inventors, the builders, the leaders, the creators, they began each day with a purpose so fixed that no amount of opposition could move them off their path. And if you desire to rise among them, you must adopt the same standard. You must begin your day by anchoring yourself to your reason, your aim, your purpose. When you rise in the morning, your mind is in its most impressionable state. It has not yet been tainted by outside noise, by problems, by confusion. It is pure still, like a lake before the wind. That is the moment to drop your purpose into it, like a stone that ripples through every layer of your being. A clear mind, when met with a definite purpose, becomes unstoppable. But a clear mind left empty quickly fills with whatever the world throws at it. Emails, social media, gossip, fear. You must decide. Either you plant your own intention, or someone else will plant theirs in you. Definiteness of purpose gives structure to chaos. It is the reason behind the effort, the why behind the work. Without it, even your strongest efforts will eventually feel meaningless, but with it, the smallest actions take on power. Brushing your teeth, making your bed, drinking water, All become sacred rituals when done in alignment with a clear goal. That's because purpose elevates the ordinary. It transforms the routine into preparation for greatness. Do not wait for inspiration to strike you. That is the way of the weak. Instead, meet the morning like a general meets his army. Stand tall, breathe deep, and ask yourself, what am I building today? What is my mission? What must I move toward, no matter the cost? And then write it down, speak it aloud, burn it into your mind. Let that purpose guide your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. If you fail to do this, the day will decide your purpose for you. It will hand you distractions dressed as obligations. It will convince you that being busy is the same as being productive, and before you know it, the day is gone, and you have nothing to show for it but exhaustion. But when you begin with definiteness, you strip the day of confusion, you filter out what does not serve your mission, you become sharper, quicker, more disciplined, you move with a sense of inner power that others feel, even if they cannot explain it. The human mind, when fed with a clear purpose, begins to awaken abilities you never thought you possessed. It begins to attract ideas, people, and opportunities that align with your aim. This is not magic. It is the natural law of concentrated attention. What you focus on expands, what you ignore shrinks, and what you repeat each morning becomes the framework of your reality. You must never begin your day by asking what the world wants from you. That question will keep you stuck. You must ask instead, what does my purpose require of me today? Who must I be to fulfill this mission? What sacrifice must I make? These are the questions that form the foundation of a powerful morning. And these are the questions that most avoid, because the answers require effort, courage, and honesty, but the reward is worth the cost, because a person with definiteness of purpose cannot be stopped by criticism, failure, or delay. They do not crumble when the path gets hard. They do not need to be pushed. They pull themselves forward with inner drive. Their mornings are not ruled by emotion or mood. Their mornings are ruled by mission. The world bends for those who know where they are going. Opportunities appear, allies show up, strength grows, but none of it begins until you decide what you are really after, and until you reaffirm that decision each morning. Because purpose is not a one-time commitment. It must be renewed daily, like a promise between you and the highest version of yourself. Each morning when you rise, you are not just waking up to another day. You are stepping into another opportunity to pursue the life you desire. Waste that moment, and you will drift. Own it, and you will lead. Everything great begins with a clear intention. Everything powerful is built on purpose. And the most successful individuals do not wait until noon to find theirs. They declare it at dawn. Self-discipline is the invisible bridge between who you are and who you intend to become. It is not glamorous, it is not loud, but it is the most reliable architect of achievement. And its most critical expression lies in the early hours of the morning, when the world is quiet, when the distractions are few, when there are no spectators. That is when the future is either built or broken. The individual who trains himself to rise and act with discipline before the day begins is the one who will command the day rather than serve it. Every morning presents a silent test. Will you obey the comfort of the bed, the voice that whispers 5 more minutes? Or will you rise in defiance of weakness? That moment may appear small, but it is not. It is the first contest of the day between comfort and character, and if you lose that first contest, you will lose the second, the third, and the fourth. But if you win it, if you push yourself up with purpose, you set in motion a pattern of discipline that shapes your thoughts, your decisions, and your outcomes. Do not wait for motivation. That is the path of the undisciplined. Motivation is a visitor. It comes and goes, but discipline is a resident. It lives with you. It serves you. It does not ask how you feel. It acts because you've already decided what must be done. When you develop self-discipline in the morning, you no longer need to negotiate with yourself throughout the day. The decision has already been made. The reason most people fail to build the life they want is not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is because they lack discipline, and that discipline is not forged in high-stakes situations, but in the small, repeated actions of each morning. Rising on time, making your bed, resisting distractions, beginning your work even when you don't feel ready. These are the quiet disciplines that build the foundation of success. Success is not achieved in a moment of glory. It is earned in the hours when no one is watching. It is earned when you choose structure over ease, clarity over confusion, intention over impulse. And the greatest advantage you can give yourself is to train this discipline in the earliest part of the day, when your mind is most open and your will is most challenged. To build self-discipline, you must develop a standard for yourself, not a schedule, not a routine, a standard, something within you that says, this is who I am and this is what I do, regardless of how I feel. The early hours of the morning are the proving ground for this standard. If you can master yourself when there is no reward, no recognition, and no pressure, you will be prepared to master yourself when the stakes are higher. Do not underestimate the power of your morning behavior. It is not simply about waking up early. It is about who you become in the process. You become reliable. You become mentally tougher. You become someone who does not need to be pushed or reminded or rescued. You become a leader not of others, but of yourself. The world is filled with people who begin the day in a haze of excuses. They say they're not morning people. They say they'll start next week. They say it doesn't matter as long as the work gets done. But they are wrong. It does matter, because how you begin determines how you continue. The discipline you show in the morning bleeds into every interaction, every decision, every effort that follows. You cannot fake self-discipline. It reveals itself in the way you show up. You either did the work in silence or you didn't, and that truth echoes through your results. The person who trains themselves to rise at the sound of their alarm, who gets into motion even when it hurts, who honors their commitments without supervision, that person becomes powerful. That person becomes trustworthy to themselves. And there is no greater form of confidence than knowing you can rely on your own will. Start by doing what is difficult, not because it feels good, but because it makes you strong. Discipline is not built through ease. It is built through resistance. And the morning hours provide the perfect resistance. It is easier to stay in bed. It is easier to postpone your goals. It is easier to reach for comfort. But easy is the enemy of greatness, and the one who conquers the morning has already defeated easy. If you want to rise in this life, rise in the morning, rise with intention, rise with determination. Rise not because it's popular, but because it's necessary. Discipline yourself before the world can distract you. Do not look for shortcuts. Do not search for hacks. Forge yourself in the early hours, because the man or woman who does what needs to be done when it's least convenient will soon live a life that others only dream of. The morning is your time to practice mastery over your impulses, to silence the voice of doubt, to stand firm against the temptation of comfort. The habits you form in the morning are the roots of your success, and if those roots are strong, nothing can shake you. The most powerful weapon a person possesses is not talent, not wealth, not connections. It is the ability to direct their own thoughts. The quality of your life, your work, your relationships, and your results are determined not by what happens around you, but by what happens within you. And each day, the first opportunity you have to establish that internal authority is in the morning. Before the world has spoken, you must speak to yourself. Before the demands arrive, you must decide how you will think. Most people begin their day in mental chaos. They check their phones, scroll through noise, and consume opinions before they have even formed their own. This is not harmless. It is a dangerous surrender of your mental territory. The moment you allow your thoughts to be shaped by the outside world before you have established your own direction, you've already given up command of the day. You must begin every morning with intention. Not just physical motion, but mental direction. The mind is like a ship, and if you do not take the wheel, it will drift, carried by the tides of distraction, fear, and reaction. But when you wake up and deliberately choose your thoughts, when you speak power into your mind, when you affirm your purpose, when you visualize your goals, you begin to turn the wheel toward the destination you desire. This is not theory, it is practice. Thought, when focused, becomes the fuel of achievement. It influences how you speak, how you act, how you solve problems, and how you carry yourself. If your first thoughts in the morning are of anxiety, regret, or confusion, then your day will follow the same path. But if your thoughts are of clarity, strength, and purpose, your day will bend in your favor. You do not need to control everything, only your own mind, and when you do that, you rise above circumstance. You command the day by refusing to allow fear or doubt to be the first voices you hear. You must become the master of your inner conversation. Ask yourself, what do I believe about this day? What do I expect from myself? What is the standard I will live by? Then plant those answers like seeds in your consciousness. Speak them aloud, write them down. Let them form the lens through which you view the world, because the way you think about the day becomes the way you live the day. Your thoughts in the morning are not neutral. They are the architects of momentum. One strong, empowering thought, fully believed, can carry you through resistance, delay, and adversity, but one weak, defeated thought, entertained for too long, can sabotage even the best laid plans. You must choose which thoughts deserve your attention. You must guard your mind as a gatekeeper guards a treasure. Do not begin your day by asking what might go wrong. Begin by deciding what must go right, and then shape your thoughts to support that decision. A man who fills his mind with doubt will attract reasons to quit. A woman who fills her mind with strength will attract ways to move forward. This is not fantasy. It is the result of mental discipline. The mind, when directed, seeks out evidence to support its dominant thoughts. Train it to seek evidence of possibility, not limitation. Every action you take throughout the day is preceded by a thought. That thought is the spark, and the action is the flame. If you want better results, do not begin with behavior, begin with thought. Command your inner world, and your outer world will begin to align. There is a science to mental control. It begins with observation. Listen to your thoughts in the morning. Are they building you up or breaking you down? Are they aligned with your goals or borrowed from your fears? Most people live their lives unconsciously, thinking what they've always thought, feeling what they've always felt, and wondering why nothing changes. But the moment you become aware of your thinking, you begin to take control of your destiny. You are not a servant of your mind, you are its master. The mind is your instrument, your tool, your ally. But like any powerful tool, it must be trained, directed, and disciplined, and that training begins each morning. Your morning thoughts are the first orders you give to your subconscious. They are the blueprint for your emotions, your energy, your attitude. If you set those thoughts in the right direction, your day becomes an extension of your will. There is no greater act of leadership than to lead yourself, and there is no greater expression of self-leadership than to choose your thoughts before the world chooses them for you. You do not have to wait for a good day. You can create one by commanding your mind to focus, to believe, to act, and to persist. When you wake up tomorrow, remember this: your mind is listening, your subconscious is waiting for instruction. Will you feed it with fear or with purpose? Will you let it wander, or will you direct it? The answer to those questions will determine not only your day, but your destiny, because the one who commands their thoughts commands their life. The most successful individuals do not rise and react. They rise and initiate. Their mornings are not haphazard. They are structured, intentional, and designed to serve a specific purpose, to align the body, the mind, and the spirit with the demands of destiny. Morning rituals are not mere routines. They are disciplines in motion, habits forged in repetition that set the foundation for greatness. When you observe a person who achieves consistently, you are not merely witnessing talent or luck. You are witnessing structure. Behind the scenes, before the world sees the result, there is a private sequence of action that begins at the same time, in the same way, every single day. This sequence is not random. It is a blueprint, custom designed, carefully repeated, and refined over time. A ritual is different from a routine. A routine is something you do. A ritual is something you honor. The most powerful rituals are sacred to the individual. They are not optional. They are the terms upon which the day must begin. Whether it is physical exercise to energize the body, quiet meditation to center the mind, or a review of goals to reawaken ambition, these morning actions send a clear message. I am not here to drift. I am here to lead. Your morning rituals create rhythm, and rhythm is the beginning of mastery. The mind, like the body, performs best when it operates within a clear frame. Chaos and achievement cannot coexist. The person who approaches each morning differently, who wakes up at different times, reaches for different distractions, eats different food, and rushes into the day without clarity, is doomed to inconsistency. But the person who has constructed a morning blueprint becomes unshakable. They know what comes first and what follows next, and that knowledge, repeated daily, builds confidence, momentum, and ultimately results. The greatest power of morning rituals is not what they produce in that first hour, but what they set in motion for the hours that follow. A mind that has been prepared with clarity does not easily fall into confusion. A body that has been moved with purpose does not easily slump into laziness. A spirit that has been fed with strength does not easily collapse under pressure. You are building a fortress around your focus, a foundation under your goals. And it all begins before the world even wakes. One of the common traits of highly successful individuals is that they do not leave the first part of the day to chance. They engineer it. They script it. They refine it. They guard it fiercely. They understand that how they begin determines how they continue. And so they wake with a clear purpose. They engage in acts that empower them. And they do it without waiting for permission, motivation, or perfect circumstances. Morning rituals are not only about productivity, they are about identity. Every time you complete your morning sequence, you affirm to yourself, "This is who I am, this is how I live, this is how I lead my life." That consistency builds a reputation within yourself that you begin to trust, and that self-trust, built in the early hours of silence and solitude, is what fuels action later in the chaos of the day. It does not matter how small the ritual is. What matters is that it is deliberate. Whether you rise and drink water, sit in stillness, write your intentions, speak affirmations, or stretch your body, it is not about complexity. It is about consistency. It is about performing these actions not when you feel like it, but because you said you would. That is how rituals gain power: repetition over emotion, discipline over desire, purpose over preference. You will never control every moment of the day, but you can control the first. And when you command the first moment, you influence every moment that follows. A man or woman who begins the day with control is less likely to be shaken by delay, by criticism, or by setbacks. Their mood does not dictate their movement, because their ritual has already activated their mission. Think of your morning as the launching pad. Would you expect a rocket to launch without sequence, without checks, without preparation? Then why would you launch yourself into your day without alignment? Those who live without a morning ritual often find themselves reacting, chasing, and falling behind. Those who live by ritual operate with composure, direction, and power. Greatness is not achieved through random bursts of energy. It is achieved through sustained effort, and that effort begins with ritual. The best plans in the world will fail without the daily discipline to act on them. And that discipline is forged not when the world is watching, but when it is still asleep, when only you know what you're doing and why. The blueprint for achievement is not written in the moments of applause. It is etched in the solitude of morning discipline. If you want to change your life, change your morning. Build a ritual that reminds you of who you are and what you are building. And once it is built, do not betray it. Repeat it, honor it, and watch as the day begins to obey the intention you set. Morning rituals do not guarantee success, but they remove the chaos that destroys it, and in that clarity you give yourself the best possible chance to win every single day.